Bo. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Go Haribo. Hare Krishna. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parabhajakacharya. Asatara Sutta Sisi Mother's Divine Grace, Sisi Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories of Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakopatarubhishcha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Prabhu told me that kirtan was a big thing here at this temple, and he said you had a very good sound system. You confirm that, I guess, with your...
Well, the doorkeeper, they're not here, they're traveling here and there. All there. Oh my God.
I read an interesting thing about Srila. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu is the temple president.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for allowing me to come.
No.
Just today I read a little story Kurmadas Prabhu wrote about Srila Prabhupada in Australia. And they had Prabhupada's Vyasasan on the right side of the deities. And Prabhupada said you have to move it to the left side. He said that the Vyasasan should be on the left side of the deities. We're on the left side of Krishna. That's why we learned when we took first initiation. I was 1971. I received first initiation from Srila Prabhupada in New York City. And one of the things we learned was you offer your dandabats with your left side to the Vyasasan. So all these things, of course, we had to learn. We didn't know anything. I tell my wife, she was born a devotee. Many of you were all born. Prabhupada said Indians are all Krishna conscious. Not pure devotees, but they're all conscious of Krishna at least. They're all Krishna, they all know about Krishna, you know. And I said, I felt that us Westerners, we got something that you never had. One day after 20 years of my life, I didn't know anything about Krishna. I was raised Christian, Catholic. What was the word you used? That you was a good Christian, what was the word? Devout Christian. I wasn't a devout Catholic, but I was raised a Catholic boy. Went to Catholic school. Even when I was 8 years old, I became altar boy, which is, you're like a pujari, assistant pujari to the priest. So I was doing that at 8 years. I was ringing bells at 8 years old. And we heard, Prabhupada said Christians, Prabhupada said, are Vaishnavas. He said they accept God as a person. And we did. We understood God. We learned in our religion class, called catechism class, that God, we were made in the image and likeness of God, which God, that you're a person means God's a person. So we learned that. But we didn't know who the person was. You know, we knew Jesus, Son of God, but we didn't know who this person was. In fact, even in our little catechism book, there was a picture of God sitting in a chair. It looked more like Lincoln at the Lincoln Memorial, if you know what that looks like in the U.S., big, like a judge. But his face was just blank. There was no face because they didn't know his name, they didn't know who he was. So at the age of 19 years old, my friend and I, we were very frustrated in material life. Just like that, we were both in college, we both had scholarships, had okay lifestyle in the United States. Weren't wealthy families, but we were okay. But all of a sudden, me in particular, all of a sudden I just felt miserable and had no idea what I was doing, and started to pray to God. If you're there, you have to do something. And we met the devotees. I know the date because it was Earth Day, which is they still have Earth Day. It's April 22nd. It was 1971, and we were in a park. And these funny-looking people, dressed in yellow dhotis and kurtas and yellow saris, all synthetic cloth off of a boulder cloth. They were banging on drums and banging on cymbals and chanting. And they stopped, and my friend said, "Let's go see them." And I'm like, no. And he said, "No, come on, let's go see them. They're okay." And I said, "They look like they're from Mars." Or I was looking for the spaceship off on the side. These funny-looking people with shiny heads, they shave their heads every day, And bright white tilak like Prabhu here. Bright white tilak. Anyway, he convinced me. We went up and we asked this one young man. He was probably in the temple for 2 months. He was senior devotee. And I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "We're chanting God's names." And then I said, "Well, who's God?" That was it. That's all you have to ask a Hare Krishna. Who is God? He said, "Well, Krishna's God." Then he told me his name. He told me his address. He told me his girlfriend's name, his father's name, his mother's, everything. You can't imagine that experience when your whole life you don't know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and all of a sudden somebody just hands you the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it all came from this person, Srila Prabhupada, who traveled to America 60 years ago. But we had no idea about God. He not only just gave us God, he gave us Lord Chaitanya, he gave us the Hare Krishna mantra, he gave us complete perfection from just these young people, just didn't know what we were doing with our life, going to school, taking drugs, not wanting to be like our parents who were working hard for everything. And we saw them not happy. See, this is what Prabhupada, he tricked all of you people. He tricked all of you. What did he did? He took his dancing white elephants. That was us. We were his dancing. He took us to India to show them. These people, they have everything you're working so hard to get in your life, and they gave it all up to become Krishna conscious. And they did. We did. I had a scholarship, had a car, had a motorcycle, nice house to live in, everything. Just left it. We moved into the temple. 5 days later, we moved into the temple, shaved our heads. We were in New Vrindavan. 3 months later, I was initiated by Srila Prabhupada, first initiation. And then another 9 months later, that was 1 year. 1 year you would get your Brahmin initiation after 1 year. So 9 months later, we went to Los Angeles. Prabhupada gave myself Brahmin initiation. Then I went back to New Vrindavan. But while I was there in Los Angeles getting Brahmin initiation, I got to see Prabhupada every day. And this was the first time I would get to see him. I would get to go on the morning walk. I wasn't his servant. I was just this young boy from the farm, New Vrindavan farm. But I was with the Swami, Kirtanananda Swami. So I got to be next to Prabhupada in the temple room. I got to go on the morning walks. And I got my first personal service, reading Krishna book to him in the garden in the afternoon. Only 5, 6 of us would go in the garden, young boys, just like myself. We were all 18, 19, 20 years old. All gave up everything just to live in the temple. And the first day I went in, the temple president there in Los Angeles, New Dwarka Temple, handed me the Krishna book because the previous reader had just left. So he said, here, whenever Prabhupada asks, you read. So that was my first service to Prabhupada, was reading Krishna book. Krishna book was the book 1971, 72. All there was Nectar of Devotion, of course, which was very, very, very high-level philosophy, Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna book. And everything we were learning about Krishna, Krishna's pastimes. And in New Vrindavan, I would read Krishna book during lunch. Everybody would eat, and I would read Krishna book. And then at nighttime, my service was to tell the same story without reading it. Just whatever I remembered, I would tell that story while everybody laid down to take rest, all the brahmacharis in the ashram. So now, 1 year later, I was reading it to Srila Prabhupada. And just 5 or 6 of us are in there, and we're reading, I'm reading, and we're listening. But Prabhupada listened on a very different level. This is right away I saw Prabhupada. He was different. He was not like us. Prabhupada was transcendental from the spiritual world. And he would sit there, and every word he would say, you just hung on every word. You can't imagine coming from our lives. You all met Swamis, this Swami, that Swami. Prabhupada not some Swami. He's this person from the spiritual world. Literally. He's from Goloka Vrindavan. He came here to bring us to Goloka Vrindavan. That's his reason. He had no other reason to be in this place. And we just sit there and watch him. Watch him. Sometimes he'd chant on his beads. And he was so transcendental. He accepted everything very easily, very nicely. He wasn't overwhelmed by any of us. He wasn't pratishta, not interested. He's just a devotee of Krishna. And he would chant and look at us. And one day in the garden, I was there 6 days in the garden. And I learned right away, I somehow or other, I would just watch him. And he didn't say, I have the Krishna book. He didn't say to me, okay, now you read Krishna book. He would just look at you. That was it. So all he had to do was look at you. And you started reading. And sometimes he'd look at us. And the one day he looked at us, he said, what color is Krishna? And already I'm thinking, that's a funny question. Why is he asking what color? We all know what color Krishna. Why is he asking that question, what color is Krishna? And I knew it's a trick question. Some things about Prabhupada I could understand right away. That if he asks you a question, you're not going to get the answer. Because he's got something. So I didn't raise my hand. And another young brahmachari boy, another 20-year-old boy, said, Prabhupada, he's blackish like the monsoon rain cloud. He quoted Krishna book. He quoted Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto. He's blackish like the monsoon rain cloud. And I'm looking at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada goes, shook his head. No. He said he's blue like the sky. He said that's why the sky is blue. It's reflecting Krishna's bodily effulgence. Imagine, just like that, you come here to England. India, there's no blue sky, no such thing as a blue sky. It's always smoggy everywhere you go. Here you have a blue sky today, yesterday, beautiful blue. That's Krishna's. That's his reflection from his body. Prabhupada, everything he said, he would help you see Krishna. Not that you're seeing threefold bending form standing in front of you. He showed you how to see Krishna in everything. They had jasmine flower. in the garden. Night, it's called Night Queen. Here you had Prabhu had offered jasmine. There's so many kinds of jasmine. One of them is called the Night Queen. When the sun goes down, you can smell the most incredible. Yes. When I was with Prabhupada as his servant, at nighttime I would give him a massage there in Los Angeles. And he told me, you bring me that. And he would keep it right at his nose. He would lie there in bed. I would massage his legs and massage his feet. And he would just breathe. He would just keep the sprig of jasmine at his nose. And the one night he said, this is Krishna. Everything. He showed you how to see Krishna. We went from not knowing anything about Krishna, and he's showing us how to see Krishna in everything. How to see him with your eyes, how to see him with your nose, how to see him with your ears, chanting Hare Krishna. Everything he did, he was giving us Krishna. So I would read Krishna book to him. And the first day I was just reading a story, Krishna Balaram, and was killing a demon. And when killed, I don't even remember the story, but when Krishna killed the demon, Prabhupada started laughing and laughing, and his body started shaking, and he's laughing and laughing and laughing, and then shaking and shaking, and tears are coming out of his eyes, and he's laughing and he's slapping his knee. So everybody's laughing because he's laughing. We weren't laughing because of this. We were hearing a story, and we're appreciating it. But Prabhupada, he's seeing everything that's going on. He said, when you're pure, Krishna talks to you. You can hear. Krishna's there. He's there for all of us. He's always talking to you. We don't hear it. But when you're pure, you can hear it. When you're pure, you can see him. This is what he told. So that story, we're all laughing because he was laughing. And that's the process. You have the guru. He shows you how to see Krishna, how to hear Krishna. And you learn it through him. So then the next day, I decided I'm going to read a story about Krishna Balaram killing a demon. And Prabhupada's going to laugh just like he did today. I just decided that, you know. And I picked my story. David Gorilla was one of my favorite stories when I was a young boy, because we liked that kind of nasty stuff that he did. He was very vulgar and gross. And so we go in the next day in the afternoon, we sit down. Prabhupada sits, and after some time he looked at me, and my heart's beating because I'm excited. I'm expecting a certain outcome, everything, and I start reading. And the part came very soon in the story. Do you know what it was? What I thought was so funny? He comes out from behind the bushes, the trees, this big, nasty black gorilla. What does he do? Starts passing urine on the jugya. So I thought that was hilarious. And I said it. And when I said it, Prabhupada started laughing and laughing and laughing, and his body shaking. He didn't stop. It just kept going on, and he's laughing and laughing and laughing and slapping his knee, that's called a knee slapper. That's known. That's the height of laughter, is slapping and he's slapping his, and we're all laughing because he's laughing. Prabhupada said, I love Krishna, you love me, so you love Krishna. So same thing, he's laughing, we're laughing because he's laughing. The story was, he did exactly what I thought. He could read. Prabhupada, he knew what you were thinking. He could know very easily. And I got to see that as his servant. Oh, you could never fool him. He knew what was going on. So then the next day, Krishna took all my intelligence from me. I forgot to put the bookmarker and the next demon story, because I figured every day I'm going to read stories about demons to Prabhupada. But I forgot, because Krishna, he's the source of intelligence. And we go and sit down. As soon as we sat down, Prabhupada looked at me, said, read. Because he knew what I was doing. He knew I was playing. And I start flipping through, looking for a story about Krishna or Balaram killing a demon. And he said, anywhere. He said, Krishna's like a sweet ball. Wherever you bite, it's sweet. So that was my first lesson, another lesson about Krishna. Everywhere. Prabhupada would say that. However you serve Krishna, it's perfect. Huh? Your service, cowherd boy, go, doesn't matter. For you, that's perfection. So he said, so then I found some story, and it wasn't about Krishna Balaram killing a demon, and he didn't laugh like he did those 2 days before. But we carried on. So that was May. So now I'd been in the temple a year. So then we went back to New Vrindavan, and now I'm a Brahmin, so I'm in the kitchen. And Prabhupada came to New Vrindavan 3 months later. Very big, famous Janmashtami festival, 1972 in New Vrindavan. Radhanath Swami was Brahmachari. Chandramali Swami was Brahmachari. They were all living there. And they all came and helped me in the kitchen. I was the head cook, which means you're alone, except for festival time when people would come. Otherwise, head cook means you're the cook. Right? It means you do everything. So I went from 3 months earlier getting to go on morning walks with Prabhupada, go in the garden with Prabhupada, be near his Vyasa-sam when he gave his Bhagavatam class, to not seeing him at all, because I'm in the kitchen every day cooking for everyone. Hundreds of people came for the festival. Radhanath Swami said, I made the most tasty khichdi ever. He said, because my sweat and tears. Maharaj, he has a very, very sweet way of describing. He said, my sweat and my tears were falling into it because I didn't get to see Prabhupada. And the day before Prabhupada left, I didn't get to go any classes. I had no morning walks. Everything I thought I can do, that's what I do. But now I'm serving. So I wasn't happy. I felt like everybody's, and they would say to me, oh, Prabhupada gave such a good class. Did you hear the class today? And I'm like, no, I'm in the kitchen. We didn't have any sound systems back then in New Vrindavan. The temple had no bathroom in it, no running water in it. It was a farmhouse, much like it would be here in India, or not here in India, or anywhere in that time in the 70s. So the night before Prabhupada left, Kirtananda Swami came into the kitchen, and I'm making milk sweets for Mangal Arti, for the deities. He said, do you want to be Prabhupada's servant? I said, yes. He said, okay, you'll leave with him tomorrow morning. It wasn't even 12 hours later. That was 8 o'clock at night. 5 o'clock in the morning, we go into Prabhupada's room together. He was in a little farmhouse. And we go in together, and Prabhupada's behind his desk. It's 5 o'clock, got the little light on where he does his translating of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Kirtananda introduced me, said, Prabhupada, this is Srutakirti. Prabhupada just raised his head. He said, he's going to be your servant. Prabhupada didn't pick a servant. He depended on Krishna. It wasn't, Krishna doesn't give him a servant, he doesn't have one. This is pure devotee. Whatever Krishna provides, he accepted. So he said, he's going to be your servant. He said, he's a very good cook, but he doesn't know how to massage. Prabhupada said, anyone can massage. That wasn't true. He was very picky about everything. I got to learn everything. Prabhupada was massage. You massaged every part of his body until he went like this. You didn't move to another spot until he gave you permission. Then you went to the next spot. I learned the hard way because after a long time I thought, I know what I'm doing. And he allowed me to do it for 2 days. I did his head, then I did the back. And I'm not waiting for him to give a signal. And then the third day came, and I had my hands on his head, and I took them off. He said, you massage me until I tell you to stop, not until you tell you to stop. He had the sweetest way of saying things. Everything he said was like delightful, even when you were being chastised. So anyway, he said that, and that was new from my very first morning. And then he reached under his desk and grabbed his lota. Do you all know what a lota is? Okay. Nowadays, no one knows what a lota is anymore. I didn't know what a lota was then, but he grabbed his lota under his desk and he gave me his very first instruction. He said, follow me. Imagine. Same instruction. 55 years later, same instruction. Follow me. That's all you do. You follow Srila Prabhupada. That's our business. And I followed him. And he walked outside. I walked outside. And he said, wait here. I waited, and he went behind some trees, bushes. Then he came back and handed it to me. He said, now you wash it with dirt, soil, and water. Put it back under my desk. So that was those two things. Follow me. And he gave me the most simple service to do, cleaning his lota. After he went to the bathroom, he had me clean his lota. So he showed me right away who you are. This is you. So I did that. 2.5 years I was his servant. I never had to clean the lota again. I would be on the morning walk every morning holding the microphone. He's on the morning walk. Who's cleaning his room every day? All the ladies, all the men, big men, are in the morning with their dundas, and the ladies are doing all the nice service for Prabhupada, cleaning his room, flower vases, polishing his lota, polishing his cooker. But that's what he had me do that morning. And I didn't know, all I knew was Shama Sundar, his secretary, when he rings the bell, you go in the room. When he sits in the car, you sit next to him. When he sits on the plane, you sit next to him. I thought, okay. But that wasn't easy either, because what do you do while you're sitting next to him 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours on an airplane? You have to make believe you're Krishna conscious. Sometimes in those planes in the old days, Air India, they're the big screen, television screen, movies would be playing on any airline. And you know, you'd buy the things, put in your ears. We never did that. But of course, sometimes you have to look. It's just there. And one time there was an American Western. And there's, you know, they all have their hats on, you know, their cowboy hats and everything. And then there was this one cowboy-looking guy, and he's all dressed in black, had a black hat, black shirt, black pants, black boots, and he has this little book in his hand. And Prabhupada looked, he said, what's that book? You don't know, but I said, I think it's a Bible, Prabhupada. He said, okay, but that was it. Once he said, so horrible. He said, what's on the screen? He said, I turn away. He said, I don't want to even see it. He said, this was Prabhupada. So then, the very first day we go to Pittsburgh, 2 hours in the car, we get to Pittsburgh Temple. And he has a temporary room. Next to that room was his bedroom. So he's in his sitting room. I'm in his bedroom, because you have to be able to hear the bell when he rings the bell, so you're never far away. You've got to be there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to listen for the bell. So I'm in the bedroom and I'm looking in his suitcase, familiarizing myself. Look at his dhotis, couple dhotis, few kurtas, sweater, chadar, and the cooker, that cooker, brass cooker. And I hear the bell ring. So I jump up, I run into the room, I offer obeisances, and I sit up and I look at Prabhupada. And I don't know what to do because I don't know what he's going to say, what he wants. And I said, yes, Prabhupada, what can I do? He said, nothing. He said, I just wanted to see how fast you were. So I passed the test. That was my first test. So then we're just looking. I said, anything else? He said, no. He just wanted to see if he rang the bell, what would happen. And then I'm sitting there. I said, should I go back to the room? He said, okay. He said, then I offered obeisances. So I passed the test, my first test. Then the next day we went to Dallas. He stayed there for 3 days. During those 3 days, he trained me how to massage and how to use the cooker. I gave him massage in the kitchen, on the kitchen floor while the cooker's on the stove that we assembled together. He showed me how to prepare his lunch in the cooker, which I did hundreds and hundreds of times afterwards. And then that day, after lunch, Prabhupada took a nap. Everybody knows Prabhupada took a nap, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So he has lunch, he takes his nap, and I hear the bell ring. This is the second day. So I come into the room, and his Vyasa-san's there, so I don't go in front. I literally just right beside him. Just beside him, and he's sitting on his cushion. And offer obeisances, and he looked at me. He said, Srutakirti, your name's too long. He said, from now on, I'm going to call you Shruto. I said, yes, Prabhupada. He never called me Shruto after that day, but he said that to me. You see what he's doing? He's just making me relax, and he's making me just love him. And then he looked at me. He said, do you take a nap after lunch? No one in ISKCON took a nap in 1971. That was, if you slept more than 6 hours, Maya, you're sleeping with Maya. Maya was everywhere. I learned a lot about Maya when I moved into the temple. So many things, Maya was there. We had to be up by 4 in the morning or you're in Maya. You sleep more than 6 hours, you're in Maya. So when he asked me, I thought he's checking up, see how much I sleep, you know. I said, no, Prabhupada. Only time we ever took naps was during Bhagavatam class. Devotees would take. That was an official nap time. Temple commanders had squirt guns. And they would sit next to the person giving class and just wait for you to nod your head, and they'd start squirting you with the squirter. So I said, no, Prabhupada. Then he looked at me. He said, I'm an old man. He said, when you're old, you can't sleep too much at any one time. He said, so I take a nap after lunch. And I'm thinking, he's telling this to me, and I'm thinking, who is this person? Who is this person who's giving Krishna to everyone in the whole world, comes from the spiritual world, and he's the most humble person you've ever met, telling me why he takes a nap. But everything he did in 2 days, he took away all my anxiety. Imagine, you're living in a temple for a year, you don't know anything, you're just this young kid, and now you're servant, personal servant to the Jagat Guru of the whole universe. And you're nervous. And he took away all that nervousness, just like that. Just like just 2-3 times going in his room. Because you can't serve if you're always nervous. How can you do your service? You have to be peaceful. So he made me peaceful. But it was genuine. It wasn't like there was some motive there. It's who he was. And over the next 2.5 years, I saw that person in his room every day. The person who was sitting on the Vyasa. Everyone just saw him on the Vyasasan. Most everyone giving lectures, telling us you're not this body, spirit, soul, servant of Krishna, eat less, sleep less. This is all you hear all the time. Then you'd go into his room, and he was like a young boy. He's just a lover of Krishna. That's what he was. Like a little cowherd boy. Say he was childlike, simple. And in the afternoon, after lunch, what did he do? Took his nap, half an hour. At nighttime, he's sleeping 2 to 3 hours. Not like he was sleeping. He's only sleeping 2-3 hours at nighttime and getting up and translating his books, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We're all sleeping. And then after his nap was his bhajan time. Imagine he's doing translating in the middle of the night. He's going on the morning walk, conversations, greeting the deities, giving class, meeting with the devotees in the morning, the managers of the temple, he's meeting with them. Then he has his lunch, and after lunch, that was his private time. No people coming in. And during that time, sometimes he'd be walking around chanting japa on his beads, pulling down his counter beads, just like he told us to do. Sometimes he'd grab the harmonium. He'd be doing bhajans. When I heard him playing harmonium, I'd run into the room, offer obeisances, and he'd look at me. You can grab the cartels, it's okay. I would grab the cartels and play. And so many times, I'd be in his room doing something, and he's reading his books. His books. Every temple we went to around the world, his room had a bookshelf. The only books on his bookshelf were his books. No other books, no encyclopedias, no books from his godbrothers, no other books, his books. And the bookshelf is, the 2 years when it would grow. Every month there would be another book. Second canto, part 1, part 2, third canto, part 1. Every month it's expanding. And wherever he is, those books would be on his bookshelf. So I'm with him around 6 months. And the bell rings. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I go into his room. Somebody have a book? There's a book. Anyone have any books? Where's my books? Give me a book. So I go into his room and I offer obeisances. And he's sitting behind his desk. He's got his reading glasses on. And he's reading his Bhagavad Gita. And he looks up at me. He looks up at me, he says, "This Bhagavad Gita is so nice." He said, "If you just read this one book, you can become Krishna conscious." He said, "You don't have to read hundreds of books. Just this one book." He said, "Everything is in this book. If you read it," he said, "you understand, you can be Krishna conscious." And I never say any, I just shake my head. Then he put his head back down and started reading, which means he was done. He was in ecstasy, reading his Bhagavad Gita as it is. His Bhagavad Gita, he's reading it. So I offered obeisances and left. He rang the bell to call me in because he was in ecstasy reading his book. So I'm with him a long time. Months go by. Now we're in some other temple somewhere. The afternoon is there. Rings the bell, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I go in, offer obeisances, and he's reading the Nectar of Devotion. And I sit up and I look, and he's looking at me. When he looked at you, you don't do it, you just... And he looked at me, he said, "This book is so nice. If you just read this one book," he said, "you can be Krishna conscious." Said the exact same words. You don't have to read hundreds of books, so many books, just this book. He said, everything is in this book. If you read it, you can be Krishna conscious. Yes. He said, you don't have to read so many books. He said, it's so nice. Then he put his head back down, kept reading. Imagine, he's in ecstasy. He's calling me in the room just to share his feelings. There was no one else. He rings the bell. No one's going to go in but me. So then he put his head down, continued reading. So I offered obeisances. I went back to my room. So I don't know how many months went by, and we're in Juhu. Not like the temple you see now in Juhu. This was Juhu when there was no temple. He was up the second floor in a little flat, and he rang the bell. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he rang the bell. And I go in, I offer obeisances. You never know what's going to happen when you go into Prabhupada's room. There's never know what he might say. But I go in, offer obeisances, and he looks at me. He was reading Krishna book. The book I read to him 2 years before. I was reading Krishna book to him. And he looks at me. What does he say? What did he say? He said, this book is wonderful. He said, this book is so nice. If you just read this one book, you can become Krishna conscious. This is the third different book. Every book was different. But he said, if you just read this book, you can be Krishna conscious. Jai. He said, you don't have to read hundreds of books. Everything he said is in this book. If you read it, you can be Krishna conscious. And he kept looking at me. He didn't put his head down. He just kept looking. He said, you don't even have to read the whole book. He said, one chapter. If you read one chapter in this book, he said, you can be Krishna conscious. He kept looking at me. He didn't put his head down. And he's looking at this silly boy, you know. You don't even have to read the whole chapter, he said. If you read one line or one page, he ran his hand up and down the page. He said, if you read one page in this book, you can become Krishna conscious. And I'm just... You don't even have to read the whole page, he said. One line, he went like this. Prabhupada was always very demonstrative. One line, he said, if you read one line in this book, you can become Krishna conscious. Then what did he say? You don't even have to read the whole line. He said, if you read one word in this book, you can become Krishna conscious. He said, because Krishna is in every word. Then he put his head down and he continued reading. And I went back to my room. So these are Prabhupada's books. He spent 10 years more giving us these books to read, to distribute to others, so that they can become Krishna conscious. This was his purpose, coming to this world. But how important are these books? And he said, these books he gave, Prabhupada in Vrindavan, he said, I'm the dictaphone machine. Not that he used the dictaphone. He said, I am the dictaphone. He said, I take dictation from Krishna. his books. They're from Krishna. On the airplane, one day, sitting beside me and his Sanskrit editor, Pradyumna, who was Sanskrit editor the whole time. Prabhupada was reading on the airplane. He was reading his Bhagavad Gita as it is. And he looked at us. He said, "What author do you know reads his book once it's printed?" Then, of course, he said, "No one." He said, once they print a book, they never look at it. They go do another book. He said, "But here I am reading this book." He said, "Why?" You know he's going to answer his own questions. You just look at Prabhupada. He said, "Because they're not my words. They're Krishna's words." So the thing I learned, so many things from Prabhupada, but two things so important in Krishna consciousness. One is nice association. Like here, this is why we get together. Associate. Talk about topics about Krishna. How to give Krishna to others. And the other is read his books. He said, if you don't read, you won't stay. He said, without the philosophy, he said, because material world, I read something. We know it says you take one step towards Krishna. What's he do? Takes 10 steps. This one devotee said, Maya takes 11 steps. It's kind of true. Krishna takes 10 steps, but, we struggle so much because Maya, she's very expert devotee, Maya Devi. She's very expert. So these are things I wanted to impress. So many wonderful things being with Srila Prabhupada. And this year's 60th anniversary, do you have my phone? I wanted to read one little. Oh. Well, I'll just try to remember. Tomorrow, I know you all had your Rath Yatra. Tomorrow I'm going to Birmingham for the Rath Yatra festival. It's July 5th. Prabhupada in 1970 went to Rath Yatra in San Francisco. He went to the Rath Yatra festival in San Francisco, 1970. And he spoke to the crowd at that time. And he told a little bit about the story of Jagannath, how King Indrajumna, one of the deities, he hired Vishvakarma to make the deities. And he told them, you don't come in until I've completed them. You don't open the door. You can't see them until they're done. But he said the king, he became impatient and he broke through the door and the deities were only half finished, he said. This was Prabhupada's description. Said they were just half finished. But Indrajumna, he didn't care. He said, put them in the temple, started worshiping them in that way. And Prabhupada said that was like 3,000 years ago. And since that time, of course, Lord Jagannath, he comes out for the festival every year. Millions of people go to see Jagannath, Subhadra, Baladev. And Prabhupada said, if you see the deities, Jagannath, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra, if you see them, he said, like Lord Chaitanya came and he chanted this Hare Krishna, he said, and we're following in that way. He said, and if you see Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra at Rath Yatra festival, he said, you'll not come back to this material world. You go back home, back to Godhead. So Prabhupada took Lord Jagannath from Jagannath Puri, and he put him all over the world, Lord of the universe. He said he wasn't restricted to Puri. He said he's not Purinath. He's Jagannath. Yeah. So it was just one of the many wonderful festivals, one of the most wonderful festivals Prabhupada was so excited about was this Rath Yatra festival. But anyway, we're just here for this one evening program. I could talk to you about Srila Prabhupada for hours and hours and days and the whole week. And I'm not going to be far away. And Leicester tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. It's not so far. We've traveled here to be here from Leicester. And tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? We're going to Birmingham Rath Yatra, and then we're going to the Leicester Sunday program, and then we're going to the youth program. So I have 3 different programs tomorrow that I'm going to. You're all more than welcome to, even though you said you... Yes. But we have plenty of time. Anyone has any questions or comments, as they say? Anyone have any questions? I was seeing at the kirtan, everyone's so enthusiastic, and I saw those 2 little girls over there dancing along through the kirtan. It was very nice to see you all here today, and I'm happy to be able to come here.
Just a quick one. I'm told when Srila Prabhupada would get angry, it was like 66 kilowatts going through you or something like that. And some of the secretaries would describe it like that.
Yes.
Did you experience any of that?
I mean, of course, I was chastised at different occasions, but I saw others be chastised on a much higher level than I was ever chastised by Srila Prabhupada. And he could be... I would cower in the corner at different times. His eyes, he could literally, you would imagine Lord Nrsingadev in front of Hiranyakashipu. His eyes could turn red and he could shake. Prabhupada, you know, his emotions, like they say, the pure devotee, you know, we learned right away, we learned so many things when we came to the temple. One of them was pure devotees like the tortoise, like the turtle. They can completely withdraw their senses, just like the turtle withdraws its legs into its shell. And when required, they can come out. So Prabhupada said his chastisement was always for your betterment. And he had a very unique characteristic that once he chastised you, he never brought that up again. He wouldn't say, that last month you did that. And once he did it, it was over. And that's not something you see very often in people, because they'll... We say, you see that red dot on all the ladies' foreheads? You know what that is? It's a record button. And they can bring up something, they can remember something you did 50 years ago with the same emotion as the day it happened, you know?
Well, one person went to a Swamiji, because Swamiji, please tell me my faults. He says, go home, find one fault with your wife, she'll give you a whole list of faults you've got.
Yeah, yes. They're great help in Krishna, help to make us humble, make you humble. Prabhupada said, actually, he said, easier for women to become Krishna conscious because they have a natural tendency to serve. He told me that one day when he said they have natural desire to serve. Where men, of course, have a natural desire to want to be served. So to change that into being servant, not such an easy thing all the time. Yeah, yeah. Yes, Mataji.
Prabhupada is a miracle. His books are miracle. So I wanted to hear from you, like what I'm thinking, and people say that his books are miracle, he's miracle. I've come across things that I find him miracle.
Well, what's she saying? Miracles that he performed? Yeah. Prabhupada himself said his greatest miracle was that he made us devotees, us Westerners, Malechas, he turned them into Vaishnavas. He said that was the greatest miracle. But he, you know, I saw many times he certainly could, he would know what people were thinking. He could know, just like I said when I was reading that Krishna book story, And, you know, I assumed Prabhupada would laugh at this exact moment, and he did it. He did everything I was thinking. With me, he always knew what was going on in my head. And other devotees, he would say, and it's not, shouldn't try to trick the spiritual master. You know, one set of devotees, once they bought Prabhupada the exact pair of shoes that he had and switched them outside his room. So they put the new ones there and took his old ones. And, I mean, nobody knew who did it except them. But Prabhupada saw them on the morning walk and said, don't try to trick your spiritual master. So he knew who did it. He knew they took his shoes. And he knew they were, even though his other shoes were new as well. But Prabhupada knew what was going on. But, but like that, he could understand his disciples, their consciousness, you know, very well. You said about his chastisement. When I was, first time I was with him just a few months, and we were in India, and it was one of his early disciples who joined like in 67, 68, and he was a sannyasi, and he had been Prabhupada's servant. And I think we were in Ahmedabad. Prabhupada was staying at a life member's house, and this devotee, but he had left, but he was there, and he came to see Prabhupada. And now he had long hair. As soon as you left, you went right back to where you came from. Whenever anyone blooped, we'd say blooped, left, you'd go right back to what you were doing before. So he had his beard and he had his long hair. But, you know, now he was with some Swami, some Baba, or and he had orange robes on. And he came in and he sat before Prabhupada. And Prabhupada tried speaking with him and just asked him a question or so, how are you? And he started doing all these mudras, you know. I didn't know what they were at the time. I didn't know any. I still don't. And he's doing, and Prabhupada got really upset, you know. And again, he tried to say something to him, and he looked like he was like way out there, like on drugs and stuff. Who knows, you know. And then finally, I mean, Prabhupada just started shaking, you know. And Brahmananda, and he said to Brahmananda, you know who Brahmananda was? Brahmananda was like big. He said to Brahmananda, take him out. And Brahmananda just grabbed him. But Prabhupada was literally shuddering. The one thing that Prabhupada became really angry about, like I could do something, make a mistake, even if you cook something wrong, you burnt something, or you forgot something, or you could do this or that. He could chastise you, and he could appear very angry. But the only thing that really angered him is with you changed the philosophy. When you took what he gave you and you adulterated it, you changed it, that was, you're better off just to kill yourself than to do that. Because he saw that as you can destroy the whole society. And that's what he called in our society, the change disease. Everything he gave us. And he said, don't change it. He said, I've given you everything. Like his books. Everything. He said, everything in my books. He got angry in Los Angeles. You know, now it's everyone. Then it was Westerners, because that's who his disciples were, Westerners. Only Westerners, Americans, Europeans, British, like that. So one day I brought him Mahaprasadam from the deities plate in Los Angeles. So Prabhupada gave us what to give the deities to eat, right? And the sweets to give them. So now these sweets, they were making these sweets in L.A. with peanut butter, dates, raisins, nuts, and puffed rice. Not even Indian style puffed rice. This was like Quaker Oats puffed, like American brand puffed rice it was called. And because it's quick, you could make 50 sweets, no problem, 20 minutes, not 3 hours. So they were bringing the Mahaprasadam to us, Prabhupada's entourage. So I saw them. So one day at lunch, I put them on the plate, Prabhupada's lunch plate. I put 2 sandesh and 2 of these sweets. And I brought the lunch to him. So the sweets he ate at the end. Every meal Prabhupada had, there were milk sweets on his plate. Every meal. Breakfast, sandesh, rasgulla, burfi. Lunch, same. Always 4 sweets. You know that, right? You never give someone 3 sweets lest they're your enemy. That's for your enemy. Otherwise, you give them 4 sweets. So Prabhupada's eating his lunch, and then he gets to the sweets, and I'm making him sandesh. And he looks, and he says to me, "What are these?" He said, "Did you make these?" I said, "No, Prabhupada." He said, "What are they?" I said, "It's from the deity plate." And he said, "Oh." So then he finishes his lunch, sit down. He said, "Call Shalavati." She was the head pujari. And she was training people, 1973. She was like the head pujari of the whole society, and people would come to Los Angeles to learn deity worship from her. So he said, "Call her." So I called her. "Prabhupada wants to see you." When those words were the scariest words in ISKCON. Because he didn't want to see you to say how wonderful you are. If he wanted to see you, you're in trouble. So I said, "Prabhupada wants to see you." So she goes up. Prabhupada said, "What is this concoction you're making?" He said, "Why are you doing this?" He said, "Why you change what I've showed you?" He said, "I've given you these nice Bengali sweets to offer to the Lord." He said, sandesh, rasgulla, rasmalai, burfi, like that. He said, "Why are you concocting?" He said, "Just do what I've showed you. Don't do anything else. Don't change anything." He said, "Change disease. You Westerners have changed disease." Again, now you all have changed. It wasn't because that's all he had was Westerners. Now Indians also changing everything. Don't change anything, he said. I told her when I served Prabhupada lunch, what did I do? I bring him his lunch, 1 chapati, puffed up. Prabhupada said, "Hot chapati. If it doesn't puff up, useless." So I give him 1 chapati, offer obeisances, run back to wherever the kitchen area is, make another chapati, it puffs up, put a little ghee on the top, put it on the tray, run back into his room, slide it onto his plate, offer obeisances, run back. I do that 4, 5, 6 times. Every time come in, offer obeisances. He never said that's enough obeisances today. 50 times I could offer obeisances. He never said you hit your quota. There's no quota. So I told her. So one day she comes to me. She says, "Shruta, you know what I'm doing?" I said, "No, what are you doing?" She says, "Well, I bring the deities their plates." New Dwarka. There was Dwarkadish, Radha Dwarka, Rukmini Dwarkadish, Gaurnatai, Jagannath, Subhadra, Baladev, just like you have. So she's bringing in the 3 plates. She said, "I only put 1 puri on the plate. Then I go back into the kitchen, I make another puri. I go back onto the altar and I give them all a fresh hot puri." I go, "Oh, no." See, right away I could understand. No. I was with Prabhupada long enough to know You just do what he said. Don't do anything else. You don't add, you don't subtract. So I went to Prabhupada that afternoon. I said, Prabhupada, I said, Shilavati's bringing the deities one puri at a time, putting on the plate, go back, make. He said, call her. So I called her. Prabhupada wants to see you. Prabhupada wants to see you. So I brought her in. Prabhupada said, no. He said, why are you concocting? He said, just do what I told you to do. Don't change anything. He wrote one letter to the head pujari in Los Angeles. It was changed, and it was Dhruvananda was his name. He had all these ideas. Show Radharani's feet. He said, no, never show Srimati Radharani's feet. He asked, should we put a flute with Lord Jagannath? He said, no, don't do anything I haven't instructed you to do. And then he said in that letter, the greatest danger to our society is if you change what I've shown you in the deity worship. Just do as I've shown you, he said. So I learned he was most protective of what he had given us. And that's the one thing that would actually make him angry. Everything else was just to train you properly. But that, the Gopi Bhava Club, it was the Gopi Bhava, the devotees, just wanted to read from Nectar Devotion in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Krishna and the gopis. Woo, Prabhupada was so angry. And she said, Krishna like a sweet ball. He said, and you know, when you take medicine, you have to take it from the physician. Not that you decide yourself what you can do. You have to take it from the expert physician. So he was the expert physician. You know, we see this tendency now, you know, in the society. There's classes talking about Srimati Radharani, all the young people, been around a couple of years. Prabhupada never brought up the subject. Lord Chaitanya never brought up the subject. So we just follow through the disciplic succession. That's our business. Any other? Is that clear? So that's the miracle. Our miracle is to follow. Right? That's also a miracle to be able to do that, because it's very easy to change things. This isn't important. This isn't important. Everything. Prabhupada said everything's important. Everything he showed us is important. So our business is to do what he showed us. And this is his society.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Just wanted to ask, how did you, in the first place, come to accept Prabhupada? You know, somebody's come from the East and you know, sort of spreading philosophies which probably never heard of before.
The same way all of us came in those days. There was only two ways you came. You saw the devotees chanting in the streets, or you received the book. Even if you didn't want to, you received the book by someone. And that was also that was the miracle. Me, I said at the beginning, I don't know if you were here, I was looking for God. I literally was very unhappy. I was 19 years old. I was unhappy. And I saw them chanting. And I asked them what they're doing, and they told me who God was. And 5 days later, my friend and I moved into the temple and shaved our heads. We left college, left our scholarship, left our homes, left the city we grew up in, and went to New Vrindavan and shaved our heads, started chanting 16 rounds that day. That was it. So that was the potency of Prabhupada's society at that time. I was not an exception. I was like the general rule. That's what we did. One day you're on the street, and the next day you're living in the temple. And you move into the temple, and if you're a boy, they put saffron on you and you become a brahmachari. First day in the temple, you're a brahmachari. 3 months later, you're initiated. And so many, like at time in this, for me it was 1971, but there was just whatever it was in the air, in the planets or whatever. Many of us were just very frustrated with the idea of material life, working hard just to have a car and a house, and you know, it was all work, 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 work. Like I see here, you see all these expensive cars on the road, you know. Then you have to pay your expensive car insurance and the highest petrol in the world, and what else is there? Anyway, so speed cameras. You know, you're paying hundreds of pounds every month for speeding, and that's all we do. And you know, in the States, we were doing that way back in the 50s. I remember growing up when in the neighborhood somebody would get a new car. Everyone in the neighborhood, and we literally would circumambulate the car. Yeah, we wouldn't circumambulate Krishna, but the car, we would, ooh, what a beautiful car. Because that's what we were told to do. That's what advertisement was all about, to make you have to have this, you have to have this, you have to have this. You know, we were programmed, we were brainwashed into that. You know, then I remember coming to India in the 80s, and I was in Rishikesh, and I saw, you know, these little bubbas living in little grass shacks with the Tata TV thing on their roof of their house, you know. So this is how India was broken. Even the British couldn't break India, but television did. Television did. Seeing programming you in your head, what you have to do, what you have to buy, how you have to live, how you need all these things. Prabhupada came and told the only thing you need is Krishna. Hare Krishna, that's what you need. All this other stuff is nonsense. He said even yoga. He said you dance. He said that's your yoga. That's your exercise. And what do we have now? International Yoga Day in our temple rooms. What are we doing? This is yoga. Bhakti yoga. This is the yoga. This is all Bhagavad Gita. Everything's there in Bhagavad Gita. Just read Bhagavad Gita. You know what you're supposed to do. What foods you're supposed to offer to Krishna. Satvik. Not spicy food cooked in oil. 1958, Prabhupada talks about oil causes cancer. 1958, he says that in Back to Godhead magazine. 1971, in the temples, we didn't have any money, barely surviving, selling Back to Godhead magazines for a couple of paisa. But we had ghee. Now you have so much money in the temple, but you don't have ghee. Oil. Kitchen, deity kitchen, devotee kitchen. We had a kitchen. That was it. Everything got cooked in that kitchen. That was the deity kitchen. Everyone ate what was cooked and offered to the deities. Not that there was, for the deities get this and you get this. So all these things are going on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is simply nectarian to hear all this.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You are the second devotee from Vrindavan who said that you don't see blue sky there,
Yes.
which I found quite amazing, strange. And,
yes.
and also the other major change now, and you just said it a little while ago, that you were looking for Krishna. And somebody said recently that with all the new mood of masses coming, not just Vrindavan, all over, the masses are coming now. But the difference is they're not looking for Krishna, which was quite an observation by this person.
Yeah.
when we started our Krishna consciousness, we would go to Vrindavan and we were all looking for Krishna or something
Krishna,
connected to
yes.
Krishna.
Yeah.
So could you expand on the change which has happened, how you're coping, because you are there?
Within our society, or just in the well, just like Vrindavan now, now everyone has a car. And in Delhi, it's like the thing to do on the weekend is you go to Vrindavan. It's like an Indian Disneyland, kind of. It's not a place of pilgrimage. That's one of the things. Mangal Arti at Krishna Balaram Mandir, very popular. And spinning around in the courtyard for young girls, very popular. You can go on YouTube's millions of hits they'll get just spinning around like in the courtyard. Nothing to do with Krishna. But so everything, what was it, George Harrison, long time ago made the song, I, me, mine. That hasn't changed. Our business in the temple has to be the one place you can go and understand what it means to be a devotee. And if we lose that within the temple, if we don't show them what it means to be Krishna conscious, then what's the point? What's the point? If we ourselves, back again, 72, what did Prabhupada say? Boil the milk. He said, we're not looking for numbers. We're looking for good devotees. We want to see Brahminical, pure devotees, because then they'll have the potency to do something. The potency will be, everything's potency. Purity, right? Purity is the force. So as time goes on, most important thing is, and Prabhupada saw it, my understanding, he said, don't change anything. Even if there's something you may see technically, well, this was not good. As soon as you start changing, there's no stopping it. So even if there's some mistake somewhere, just leave it alone. Okay, we see it's but you don't start change, because once you open that, say Pandora's box, once you open that, there's no end. And we see that, He stopped the road show, 1972. Was going on for 1 year. I was in it when it started. Do you know what the road show? Road show was literally a group of devotees. We had 4 buses, kitchen bus, temple bus, men bus, women bus, and Radha Damodar deities, the famous Radha Damodar deities. And it was wintertime in the north, so we went to the southern states, and 2 lead men, they would book us programs. And the way they booked us was saying our affiliation with George Harrison, so we're going to do singing and dancing and all this stuff. But they'd go, but all the program was us chanting Hare Krishna. There would be plays, Liquid Beauty, Bird in the Cage, philosophy. And we'd go to schools, high schools, colleges, grade schools, nightclubs, and we'd basically chant Hare Krishna and give a little philosophical talk like that. But then in the course of a year, the road show changed, and it became more of a performance, singing and dancing, different kind of singing and dancing, Things got added. Wasn't just chanting Hare Krishna, they were singing other songs, doing other things. And Prabhupada shut it down. And he said, we're just simple kirtan people. And he said, if you bring people in, attract them by some other method that this is what we do, once they see we just chant Hare Krishna, he said they're going to go away. He said, we're not interested. We just want people to understand our business. Worship the deity, chant Hare Krishna, bring others to Krishna consciousness. And so that's what you see 50 years later. We have all these, so many things going on. But that's what he called diluting. Our program was very serious, when he kept enforcing that. He saw because he would say it different. Yeah, this is nice. You know, this is nice. But then he saw that same thing. As soon as you allow the next thing to enter, there's no end to it. So then he got very firm. Don't change anything. Just do as I've shown. Deity worship, do as I've shown. Or preaching methods. You know, he's way back, devotees, there were devotees, you know, in the Kundalini yoga, this yoga. He said, we chant and dance. He said, that's all the exercise you need. He said, it's dancing in the kirtan. But now, you know, you have to be so careful. You say this, that, you get frowned upon, you know. And, you know. Well, that was 50 years ago. Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya was God. What did he do? He chanted Mridanga and Kartal. That was it. He said if he wanted, he could have used anything else. So like that. So that's what I was raised in. I was raised that way with Prabhupada. And going outside for anything, to hear from anyone else, forget it. He was very protective of us, just to hear from him. Just in our temples, go to our temples. Not that this is the same, that's the same. This Baba, now we have Vrindavan. Oh, gee, Premananda Baba, by his social media. He's huge. Huge. Prabhupada didn't want us reading books from outside, not even his godbrother's books. He said his guru's books we could read, but not his godbrother's books. One devotee in Mayapur, he went to his godbrother, brought him Prabhupada's books, and he exchanged them for Prabhupada's godbrother's books, and he brought them back to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was furious. He said, bring him his books back and get my books back. If he wants them, he can buy them. That's how strict Prabhupada was. People think like I'm a fanatic. I say, you have no idea. Prabhupada was a fanatic, protecting his society from outside elements and from inside elements as well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can tell, you know, hundreds of sweet, sweet stories, but there's a strictness Prabhupada had, and he knew, you know, how important it was. All he ever did was follow his guru's instructions. And that's what he said for us. Just follow, then everything's there, potency's there. And all success will be there. Just by doing things the way he showed us.
There's a question here.
Yeah? Okay.
My humble obeisances to you. One devotee was telling me, saying that Prabhupada used to take much time while he was honoring prasadam. Did you have any opportunity to sit with him to have the prasadam? And is it a fact? I wanted to know it.
Yeah, especially lunch was the main meal. Prabhupada sat on the floor on a straw mat. Hit the table, Choki was against the wall, so he faced the wall. If other people were in the room, when I would bring the plate in, he would go sit down and he would say, here, now you can go. He would send everybody. There was no talking, no other people in the room. And yes, he honored prasadam. It was a seva, prasadam seva. He didn't rush through it. Chewed everything very nicely. When he was done, he would pick with he had a toothpick on his desk, a little silver toothpick he would use, so that everything went into his mouth. He didn't spit out little pieces of prasadam. One devotee, Prabhupada was doing it, the devotee said, oh, I'll go brush my teeth. Prabhupada said, no. He said, you can do that before you eat, not after you eat. In other words, he didn't waste one morsel. It's Krishna. One day walking up his stairs, he saw a plate of prasadam on the table. Nobody was there. Prabhupada said, who left their prasadam crying on the table? Everything's personal. Prabhupada saw Krishna in everything. If you don't see Krishna in everything, you know you have a long way to go. Devotee sees Krishna in everything. He came to Vrindavan, he was walking around. You know, in the back of the temple, they have the donation offices there. So he was walking in the morning, nobody's in the office. And Prabhupada stopped, he said, "Do you see?" When he would say, "Do you see?" we all think that he's seeing some spiritual entities or something. "Do you see?" And everybody look. He said, "The fan." He said, "I have to come 5,000 miles to tell you to turn off the fan? No one's in the room. If you wash the floors and turn the fans on, to dry the floor, no. Wasting Krishna's energy." He saw things very differently than average person. Everything, little drip coming down of water, everything, Krishna's energy. You don't waste anything. 2 buckets of water to bathe, that was it. No shower, never used a shower, always from the bucket, lota in the bucket. Used 2 buckets. It's getting late, I guess.
Applause for that.
Hare Krishna.
What's that? Oh, a question.
Huh?
They're going to ask something.
Okay. Yeah, they're wonderful devotees there. Do you have the books?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandat pranams. Did Srila Prabhupada give a message to children? What was Prabhupada's message to the children?
Any message to
Children. To the children.
the children? Yes. Prabhupada was very, very sweet to the children. And he said, Prabhupada's parents loved him very much. Prabhupada always talked about his parents very fondly. And they were always very kind to him, both his father and his mother. I saw him in the Gurukula in Dallas when I first became his servant. They were young boys, 5, 6 years old. And they came into the room. They were learning Sanskrit. One of the boys, Prabhupada was teaching them Sanskrit. And then Prabhupada said to them, "Come here." And Prabhupada got on the floor on his hands and knees. And he told the boy to jump over him. And then Prabhupada jumped over him. Called leapfrog in the West. They call it. So Prabhupada was playing games with them. Prabhupada said you shouldn't force the children to do anything. You know, and we had a hard time learning how to be in the beginning, thinking that they should chant 16 rounds. But he said everything should come by example from the parents. He said that the duty of the parents was to love the children and set nice example. And he said for the mothers, he said child worship was more important than deity worship. You understand that? So Prabhupada's idea was there should be very nice family life, and that the parents and the children should get along very nicely. He also said that the children naturally like to do some kinds of austerities. But he didn't advise them to get up early in the morning. They have to have plenty of sleep and plenty of prasadam. So that was some of his instructions. Lots and lots of prasadam. No fasting. So I don't know what age you change at. He started initiating when they were 12 years old. I think that was the youngest. He would initiate. If they were qualified, he would give initiation at 12, but not before that. And it was important that they should have, he said every devotee should have at least 1 cup of milk a day, cow's milk, but the children should have 2 cups of milk a day because they're growing. And that can be in milk or cheese, in some form of dairy. But he said it was important for them to have that. And that also becomes an issue in some places now because we have this veganism going on, and the cows are being, tortured and this and that. And sometimes there's big devotees, they only get milk from the ahimsa cows from the temple. But just like here, you have hundreds and thousands of grahastas with children. Those children require milk. And you just do the best you can, if you can go to the store and get nice organic milk, grass-fed cows, that's wonderful. But somehow or other, they have to have milk. So that's an important thing, he said, because it develops the brain, and we also know it develops all the bones and everything else. So that's an important thing. Another thing within our society, I could tell stories about that. I said, Krishna, he's Govinda, Gopal. He's the butter thief. Yeah. So those things are required. Anyway, I would love to be here again sometime. I hope I can come again.
Please do, yeah.
And,
Haribol.
It's wonderful.
A little bird told me it was your 75th birthday last Sunday.
Yes.
Was it last Sunday? And in Mumbai Eco Village, they celebrated your birthday. So because we like you so much, we made another cake, put 75 on it.
Oh, thank
and
you.
if you would light the ghee lamp.
Okay.
It's ghee lamp, not oil one.
Okay. Don't get in trouble, right?
So you can switch this fan off, please. Yeah, we're gonna leave the lights on. If you get close. Please come here as well, so we can have you on the camera. I'll give you just.
Okay.
Okay, so just say Prabhuji, we won't say the name, okay? 2, 3, 4. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Prabhuji. Happy birthday to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna to you. Hare Krishna, dear Prabhuji. Hare Krishna to you. Come on. Arriba! So there's one little thing we do. But we don't know how to do it for you, because normally if it's somebody's birthday, we put our left hand on our heart and then right hand towards the birthday boy, and then we chant the Mahamantra, meaning it's a kind of a blessing. But you serve Srila Prabhupada, so can you bless us, please? So what we do is...
I have blessings here. I have Prabhupada slippers.
Whoa, Dad.
He wore these slippers 51 years ago. These are from Japan Airlines. So he wore these slippers on the flight, and I kept them, so I have them. So these were on his feet. These are not just some slippers. He wore these slippers way back 50 years ago. So we travel with them. This is our deity, or Prabhupada deity. And we make our offerings to Prabhupada in this way. And you'll all get them. This is what I can give you. But I'm also very eager to get all your prayers as well, because I need lots and lots of prayers, so that somehow or other in this lifetime I can remember Krishna and Prabhupada. And again, it's very wonderful to be here. You've been very, very kind, and I look forward to seeing you again. And you can all have some cake and eat it too.
So what we'll do now is, if you put your left hand on your heart, and right hand you can Srutakirti Prabhuji, on my head. So everybody, put your hand on your heads, please, and say the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Ho. So what we'll do now is, if you go on this side, can you slap these slippers on the heads of them? Because who wants slippers on the head? That was a silly question.
No touching of Prabhuji's feet. Prabhupada prohibited touching his feet